Like such countless surfers before him, Jay Moriarity appeared to be destined to ride the waves, yet dissimilar to a portion of his legends who kicked the bucket doing the game they cherished. Jay was bound for an alternate stunning watery grave. The group looked as the waves walked towards the shore, transcending and steady their strong peaks, a demonstration of the sea's untamed could surfing at top these seething, unfeeling piles of water, and Wind was a lean-centered surfer, hands outstretched around the riding board. As the wave broke, Jay Moriarity hung on for his dear life as he was immediately overwhelmed a bit against the rage of nature. Spectators paused their breathing, their eyes fixed on where he vanished, seconds weighty with expectation ticked by, until despite everything Jay rose up out of the confusion, braving the waves, last part triumphant against a power that had gulped more experienced surfers. The group emitted into cheers, their alleviation substantial as Jay sound, ready to meet the following wave with a similar quiet boldness. This was where Jay felt generally alive, at the edge of the world, moving near the very edge of the chasm. The waves were his subsequent home, and he was destined to control the water until one critical day in 2001, while a stunning fiasco that didn't actually include his surfboard would recount to an alternate story on a day that started like some other. The sea's hug would abandon companion to enemy. What occurred in those frightening last minutes? Go along with us as we dive into the life and grievous demise of Jay Moriarity, a spirit whose mission for a definitive ride took him from the highest point of the world's most fearsome waves to the peaceful, unimaginable profundities underneath. From his most memorable abnormal takes a stab at a surfboard at the seashores of Ethnic Cruz, California. Jay Mori was set for significance in the riding scene beginning at age 9 at Sewer Pinnacle. The energy and enthusiasm youthful Jay felt while riding a sea wave put him on a way that would profoundly mold, as long as he can remember, in his limited capacity to focus Earth. Jay filled his years with the sort of grit, experience, and unadulterated riding soul that most can dream about. The people who realized Jay talk in odd tones about his assurance and expertise on a surfboard. They discussed his accommodating nature and cordial grin, and they perceived his energy for handling enormous waves, particularly at distance. A famous virus water surf spot off Support Point in Half Moon Narrows, protesters, was known for its furious circumstances, not implied for the bashful. The surf break is straightforwardly taken care of by a cool waterfront from Gold Country, and this makes rocky waves. These waves, which could pinnacle up to 30 ft high, have a fearsome standing. Falling into them is so vicious it can strip out surfer's wetsuit right off, turn it back to front, and suffocate the hapless surfer in the process. Mama waves had taken lives prior to, including the world-class surfer Imprint Fu, who unfortunately suffocated in December 1994 while attempting to overcome them. Yet for Jay, the charm of vanquishing these fierce walls of water addressed his very center. As a thin young person, he decided he planned to ride the nonconformist wave. However, he won't ride it single-handedly. Jay tracked down the ideal coach to direct his riding process, Rick Hesson, a veteran riding educator and a companion of Jay's beginning. At 13, Jay Moriarity collaborated with Rick Hesson for an extreme excursion to handle nonconformists and its beast waves. Colt 45 knew basically everything there is to know about the ocean and had an arrangement to prepare Jay with muscle as well as with psyche and soul to their preparation was in your face past riding. Chili had Jay stirring things up around town, composing expositions to hone his reasoning on why he needed to surf, and in any event, doing math to support his problem-solving abilities. It wasn't just about serious areas of strength for getting, was tied in with getting brilliant too. Rick genuinely thought that understanding waves wasn't enough. Jay expected to think sharp, like tackling riddles to outmaneuver the sea. If by some stroke of good luck, Chili realized that the day would before long come when his protégé wouldn't have the option to outfox the merciless force of nature, yet Chile needed to fabricate a surfer who could think and react quickly while riding a Goliath wave. The genuine test was in the water swam miles, in the untamed ocean, stretching his boundaries further, each time rowing for quite a long time in Monterey Narrows. He became acclimated to the cool the flows, and the sheer force of the sea cold ensured it he needed Jane not simply to ride them. Dissidents, yet to know pretty much everything there is to know about it. Rick likewise penetrated John, picturing his rides on nonconformist Goliath waves. Rick trained him to see himself riding the waves, to feel the water underneath him, and to dominate the wave in his psyche before truly going to it. All things considered, the psychological distraction was basically as extreme as the actual making Jay confront his feelings of trepidation and think beyond practical boundaries. By 15, Jay was more than prepared. The kid, who began with temperamental strides on a surfboard, had turned into a surfer who could gaze intently at protesters. He made his entrance into the enormous wave riding scene, equipped with the information, expertise, and soul sustained by his thorough planning. Jay Moore's most memorable ride at Nonconformists resembled a storybook tee with a monster wave that extended 15 to 18 feet high. To Jay, it felt as fantastic as climbing Mount Everest or catching an Olympic gold. Following 2 years of hard preparation, getting that wave was a little glimpse of heaven for him. You can't actually make sense of it, he shared after that day. You simply need to shout without holding back. It's the best inclination on the planet. However, the most unforgettable second for Jay at Dissident was coming up soon, only 8 months after the fact, just before the occasion buzz. On a crisp morning on December 19th, 1994, Jay stacked up his mom's pickup with his 2 major surfboards and set out toward Dissidents. When he arrived, the energy was electric, with picture takers and different surfers generally humming about the huge waves. The ocean was wild, producing waves like beasts from the profound. Jay, courageous and centered, rode hard towards one gigantic wave that stood apart from the rest. This was the second he had been preparing for. The breeze was wailing that day, making it extreme to remain on the load-up. Jay realized he needed to hunch low to battle through it. As Jay got to the pinnacle of the wave, prepared to ride it down, the unforeseen happened. An unexpected strong whirlwind got him. Similarly, as he was going to slip in a moment, Jay was taken off the wave, not riding, however, flying through the air, trapped in the grasp of the breeze. Jay's fall resembled something out of a film. He dropped 40 ft straight down, a stunning dive from the sky to the ocean. It was a snapshot of unadulterated adrenaline, a trial of Jay's mental fortitude against the sea's strength. When he hit the water, it was with an accident that reverberated through the air, yet Jay, intense and versatile, in some way risen up out of the waves whole. This crash, known as the Iron Cross in light of how Jay's arms spread out throughout his fall, became unbelievable. This stunning crash, caught by picture taker Weave Hairdresser, became notorious, gracing the front of Surfer magazine's May 1995 issue, showing the world the outrageous dangers and thrill of enormous wave riding. Notwithstanding the tornado of media consideration and freshly discovered distinction, Jay remained grounded. He kept on surfing with a similar energy and devotion he had for the game since he was a youngster. His vocation was simply beginning to take off, and Jay fully planned to ride that wave. As the years passed, he turned into a quick rising star in the riding scene, well en route to riding legend status. Yet destiny had different plans coming up for Jay Moriarty. On Friday, June 15th, 2001, Morty was in Lushi, a little island resort off the shoreline of Maldives in the Indian Sea, for a photograph shoot. Not at all like the adrenaline-filled minutes at Dissidents, Jay chose to investigate the sea. Another way, he picked free jumping, a training that permitted him to investigate the profundities with one single breath, preparing his body and psyche for for the huge waves he so cherished. A ton of surfers have begun blending free plunging into their typical water preparing by working on pausing their breathing. For longer periods, surfers can grow their lung limit and handle crashes with significantly more quiet free plunging assists. Surfers with getting far more familiar hanging out submerged by over and over plunging down 15 to 30 ft profound into cold water. Surfers become accustomed to the sensation of water pressure and figure out how to stay calm and collected in any event when they get held under by seething W waves. This permits them to ration more oxygen and not alarm when they truly need it, and obviously, over and again kicking down to the seabed and back up is extraordinary activity for developing center fortitude and trust in the sea, even without flippers. Free jumping gives serious areas of strength for surfer and an unshakable center, which pays off for moving surfboards that morning in 2001 with the sun projecting a warm sparkle over the Indian Sea. Jay set off alone, abandoning his surfboard for a cover and snorkel. The hours passed, and Jay's non-appearance from lunch didn't raise prompt worries. It was normal for competitors like Jay to burn through expanded periods in the water, particularly in such a peaceful setting anyway. As the day blurred and Jay missed supper, stress started to set in. It was not normal for him to not impart his arrangements or whereabouts, particularly in a way far-off area like Lucy. The environment immediately moved from easygoing worry to pressing caution. As dimness wrapped the island, a pursuit party was coordinated. Companions, individual surfers, and resort staff grouped together, scouring the coast and the water for any indication of Jay. The hunt went on into the night, with the stars and the weak evening glow directing the searchers. The circumstance became progressively desperate. As time passes, Jay, known for his solidarity, expertise, and significant regard for the sea's power, was mysteriously gone at last. In the haziest hours of the night, the pursuit party's most exceedingly terrible feelings of trepidation were understood. Jay's body was found on the seafloor, close to the area where he was most recently seen going out for his jump. The disclosure was an overwhelming catastrophe for everybody engaged with the pursuit, and the news immediately undulated through the little island local area, and then some. Yet what had occurred in the riding local area, where Jay Moriarity was a commended figure, many had conjectured that, assuming he were ever to meet an unfavorable end, it would be in the sensational and wild hug of a riding wave like imprint foo. In 1995, rather, Jay met his last end huge number of miles from the virus waters of dissidence, in a situation boundlessly unique in relation to the high adrenaline minutes. He was known for the specific subtleties behind his downfall is muddled. However, everything encompassing Jay's passing focuses to shallow water power outage, a peculiarity that can happen in free jumping when a jumper blacks out because of an absence of oxygen. To the mind, this condition is misleadingly quiet. It gives no advance notice and can strike even the most experienced jumpers. Frequently stretch their boundaries, attempting to remain submerged longer or plunge further, and the gamble of power outage increments. With each endeavor, the body, frantic for oxygen, can unexpectedly close down, leaving the jumper defenseless to save themselves. Shallow water power outage is treacherous on the grounds that it can occur in generally shallow profundities, where one could expect they are protected from the more obvious risks of profound water plunging. Jay had been seen by witnesses plunging down a float rope to around 30 FDA profundity, not regularly connected with outrageous gamble. It was here, in this peaceful, submerged world, that he probably ended up in the hold of a power outage, distant from the crashing waves and the cheering hordes of nonconformists. A free jumper like Jay would stay cognizant during the plunge. However, an unexpected change in pressure, oxygen level, or slow development of carbon dioxide would make him promptly pass out. This would cause a compulsory breath that sent water hurrying into his aviation routes before he could arrive at the surface and get floats or backing. Once shut down, Jay would now have overflowed his aviation routes with water. Submerged, the heart continues to thump faintly for 1 to 2 minutes, coursing oxygen-drained blood to the mind and other imperative organs before at last going into heart failure in any event. During this concise period before the heart stops, peril works as the cerebrum is getting next to zero oxygen. Cerebrum injury and harm start occurring quickly. Furthermore, the aviation route reflex is compromised, permitting more water to be breathed into the lungs rather than reflexively hindering it. If the blacked out free jumper stays lowered all through this, the absence of oxygen definitely prompts full asphyxiation. The heart quits thumping inside 4 to 6 minutes. CPR has minimal possibility, resuscitating them on the off chance that started past the point of no return after full asphyxiation has previously set in, bringing about irreversible mind harm and eventually demise. Because of the gamble of power outages, jumpers frequently swim 2 by 2, known as mates, with the comprehension to pull each other out if there should arise an occurrence of crisis. However, Jay was distant from everyone else. Had he been with a pal, maybe his accomplice would have seen his drawn-out non-appearance from the surface. Maybe we won't ever understand. What we really do know is the shock and disarray that crushed the very close-knit cruise riding local area when the news spread locally that seldom saw train misfortune. Jay's passing was exceptional. California surfers were dazed. Jay's loved ones couldn't completely accept that what they were hearing and perusing. Moriarty kicked the bucket a day prior to his 23 RD birthday. He abandoned his better half Kim Moriarty, his mom Christy, father Doe, sister Daniela, sibling Sean. All. Furthermore, 5 nephews and nieces. Moriarty has a yearly all-board race in his memory. The Jay Moriarty paddleboard race, otherwise known as the Jay Race, is held in Capitola. After his demise, a remembrance was held for him at Joy Point. Jay's family companions, his better half Kim and Coach Cold, went to. Since Jay Moriarty died, his soul lives on moving surfers wherever his adoration for surfing and the sea proceeds to educate and energize new surfers. Jay left the world too early. However, his story and love for riding continue motivating every one of the people who set out to ride the enormous waves. From shudder teen to certain surfer, he showed facing the sea with boldness and satisfaction in the realm of riding. Jay's name will continuously remind us to pursue our fantasies with our entire being, very much as he did